You're such an asshole.
AssholeConsulting.com. We're gonna bang out. I'm gonna go online with the Framingham University. Never heard of the university, but I'm gonna go on with their college Republicans here in a little bit and help the kiddies out. Say, hey, I can't wait till they ask, hey, well, I'm majoring in this. Like, nah, fuck you. You're wasting your life. Get the fuck out. My goal is to get every liberal arts major in that group to quit college at the end of this year and cost that university's liberal arts college a shit ton of money. Anyway, we have a request. And if you have a request, you can go to assholeconsulting.com and send it to the old captain with the name Asshole Consulting, emphasis on asshole. It is not a free service, no matter how millennial-y you think you are. You could be the most millennial-y of millennials, you still ain't getting shit for free. Matter of fact, I'll probably charge you more. That's ageism! No, it isn't, because it's just your generation I hate. That's not Gen Z, I'll get regular pricing. Millennials? No, I'm kidding. I won't jack up the price unless you're an actual dick. Zach writes, I was in hotel and restaurant management for 6 years. I recently checked the related federal website, and there are currently no scheduled increases in the federal minimum wage. In a way, I thank God for that because I witnessed firsthand how multiple increases in a short time frame can restrict the availability of overtime. Yeah, you think? Off the top of my head, I don't see periodic raises in the minimum wage that generally track the CPI as being problematic. No, it typically is not. What tends to be concerning to me is the basic ignorance or entitlement for sharp increases in the minimum wage. It seems to me that people are not too bright if they expect a minimum wage to be a full living wage. They don't realize $12 or $15 per hour as minimum wage in areas outside the most expensive urban areas would mutilate the availability of full-time work. Yeah, I mean, they talk, it's what the unions face. It's like, do you want $25 an hour for 40 hours a week? Or do you want $50 an hour for 0 hours a week? It's simple supply and demand. You jack up the price, demand for it's going to go down. But you hit it on the head. These people are not too bright. I mean, they are dumber than fuck. This is the stupid people. And the world needs ditch diggers too. But when the ditch diggers are sold a lie and this poppycock and bullshit that the Democrats come in, you should make $30,000 an hour. Yeah, you should. They don't think about the secondary and tertiary consequences of that, where it's like, well, fuck you, we'll just build cars in Mexico. And a lot of it isn't dumb or being stupid, it's also just being lazy and not thinking ahead, because again, laziness explains everything. And that this attitude seems to want to circumvent skilling up, like going to trade school. Yeah, that takes work. That takes effort to go to look. These people are stupid and lazy, but lazy being the key thing. They just want to exist and get paid. Have you not seen the people that vote Democrat? Have you not seen the Democratic constituents? They're about the gimme dads, the government checks, and the free shit, and the health care, and everything, and I'm entitled. Yeah, these people aren't going to work. They're not going to make anything of their lives. And there also can be the attitude that people can make stupid life decisions, like having a child out of wedlock or at too young an age, or, whether you have a kid out of wedlock or you're too young. Here's the thing. Having kids you can't afford, that'd be the number one thing. And not wanting to bear the hardship of that type of decision making. Dude, you just hit right there. You just explained the vast majority of problems that most leftists have, most Democrat leftists have, who are on welfare, some kind of government. They had kids they can't afford. That's the number one thing right there. If people stop having kids that they couldn't afford, there would be no barrios, there'd be no trailer parks, and there'd be no ghettos. I mean, there still would be, but to nowhere near the extent. The vast majority of the world's problem, not just the United States financial, but the world's problems would go away if people just didn't breed kids they couldn't afford. But you are right. It feels good. And then 40 fucking kids, and give me that! And then that's America. But that's our fault, you see. It's our fault because we're privileged, because we have jobs and we worked hard. What's your perspective on this, and what's your price for a YouTube publication? I say, okay, so let's go over, I may have a video about the minimum wage, but we'll go over the standard arguments against minimum wage, because this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do you want employment or not? That's basically, do you want production? Do you want low-cost goods? Do you want a livable wage? And then livable, I mean like you can actually afford shit. You know, you can make it $500 an hour for the minimum wage. Well, that's just hyperinflation. And don't be surprised when a gallon of milk costs $400. All right, so the first thing, you already hit on it, and that is the minimum wage debate is largely moot in large metropolitan areas because the cost of living is so high. So you are not going to be able to attract, in other words, the market wage, the market rate, is above whatever the minimum wage is now. I don't know, is it $7, $8 an hour? I don't know, it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. Typically, the federal minimum wage or state minimum wage is set below the market rate. And as long as it's below the market rate, the point is moot and academic. It doesn't matter because no one's going to work for that pittance of a wage unless you're an idiot and you don't have any self-respect. Say, no, I need more than that. Where you have a problem is, as you point out, once you get out of the major metropolitan areas, inflation and pricing is geographic and not by state. It's by municipal, city, and urban areas versus rural. So all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, we're going to force a federal mandated minimum wage of $15 an hour. Well, now employers can't go anywhere to find cheap enough labor to build their products so that's competitive in the market. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, the corporate executives pay themselves so much. Yeah, I looked this up. And if you were to take Walmart, what did I do? Walmart, was it GM? And I calculated how much you'd save in pricing, and it's like less than 1%. So you could go down that route, union people and leftists and people who are jealous because you didn't work hard. You could take all the corporate executive pay, and the savings you would garner from that is just a drop in the bucket. But when you have 2 million employees and you double your labor expense, the price of goods and services will go up. So if you implement a national minimum wage that's above the market rate, both in the urban areas and rural, well, now employers are like, well, fuck it. We're going to go, and because we have free trade, we can go overseas. You know, this is why Ford set up their Mexico plant in Mexico and not the United States. This is why, you know, a lot of our stuff is made in China now because it's just too expensive to make it here in the United States. So but the larger point is, for the most part, minimum wage is moot because it's so low relative to the market. But yeah, if Seattle and all these places start talking about $15, $20 an hour, well, shit. Now you're going above the rate, and now employers are going to leave. Okay. Another thing, if you jack up the minimum wage too high, you make alternatives to employing individuals more attractive and cheaper and more affordable and more profitable. This is where you have automation and your kiosks over at the fast food joints. Right? Once again, the stupidity and ignorance on the part of your rank and file dumbass leftists, your dumbass. Not that all fast food workers are dumb, but the ones that actually go and protest that they're going to get $15 or $20 an hour, is they don't realize that if you do that, it is much cheaper for McDonald's or Wendy's or whoever else to go get a kiosk and get rid of you. Right? Robots become much more affordable. And you could say, well, yeah, so there's this mentality like, well, we just doubled the wage and nothing happened. Really? What if like Xboxes doubled their price? Would as many people buy an Xbox? What if gas doubled in price? Would you go, or maybe would you adapt and make some changes? It's the same thing employers face. Like if the cost of labor goes up dramatically, they're going to look at alternative options. Prominently among them would be automation, replacing humans with robots or software. And there's other things they can do too. They can, as you pointed out, cut overtime. They can hire a lot more, like when Obamacare came into existence, it says, what, we don't have to pay it if they work under 32 hours? It's amazing how many employers drop their employees down to 31 hours a week. They will do whatever they can, just like you. Don't get pissed off at them. You do the same thing. Just when there are price changes and the things that cost you, money in your normal day-to-day living, and you adapt, so too do employers. Right? This doesn't mean you go work for 10 cents an hour. But it just means if you go above the market wage, the market rate, don't expect employers to just keep hiring you. Don't expect 40 hours a week, and they will change things. Sometimes they'll just shut the fucking plant down. Have you been to Detroit? Huh? Have you been there? Have you seen the pictures of the old abandoned buildings? So, again, it's do you want 40 hours a week at $25 an hour, or do you want 40 hours per week at $25 an hour, or do you want 0 hours per week at $100 an hour? You choose. So we then cut the hours, cut this out. We talked about outsourcing to cheaper places. We talked about closing up the shop. And then finally, and I am having less and less faith in academic studies because they're starting to find out that most of them cannot be repeated. Really? We're going to have the fucking cops go by now? Thank you. I hope they're dead. What was I talking about? But still, even before academia became completely corrupt and you can no longer trust it, the vast majority of studies show that having a minimum wage, especially set above the market rate, results in lower employment. And overall is a negative net thing. And you people on the left have got to realize it's not people on the right saying, oh, we hate the leftists and we want you to squirm and suck it up and and we got our snidely whiplash. It's like, no, we're trying to help you. Do you want a job, period? And you may not like the wage, but that's the real world telling you what your actual market value is. And I think a lot of it is ego, where you just can't believe you're only worth $6 an hour. That's too bad. You don't have no skills. You just want to sit there, collect your government check, and eat your fucking bonbons and watch a Jerry Springer show. All right? Well, don't fucking expect anybody to hire you. And that's really probably what it is you believe these leftist idiots to come in and say, you deserve it. Why do you deserve it? There's no reason. There's no reason you deserve any of it. The real world will tell you what you're worth. You have the choice of being sane and listening to that and then going forth and getting some kind of education, skilling up, go to trade school, as you mentioned before. Or just sitting there and pouting and saying that you deserve things for reasons. But then don't be surprised once again when all the employers leave and you're left with fucking Baltimore, Philadelphia, Detroit, Compton, and any other Compton's not. The Rust Belt, any one of these formerly great industrial employers that more around the Great Lakes area. And then finally, what we're really facing here, and again, the client hits it on the head, is that stupid people don't want to own up to their stupid decisions. That's really what it boils down to. And there are two decisions that people make that get them into the unenviable position of having to rely on a minimum wage as like your primary source of income. That is, you didn't study or get yourself a skill or a trade that's employable. And then you had kids that you couldn't afford. There are other things that you could have done. You bought shit you can't afford. You bought clothes you can't afford. You bought a car you can't afford. All this consumer spending and bullshit. But predominantly it's kids because kids are the most expensive and they're the most time consuming. See, a car doesn't consume your time. It just consumes your money. A kid consumes your time and money. But people are too stupid to understand that because orgasms, that's all that really matters. Oh, that's my phone. Hang on, I gotta go pause that. Yes, so children, that's the other reason you have these people bitching and whining about because they can't afford to live on it. Yeah, you can't afford to live, period. See, in the olden days, if you had more kids than you could afford, you would starve to death. It was called natural selection. It was called survival of the fittest. All right, now since we bail everybody out of their mistakes, be you bankers, liberal arts majors with student loans, or people who just go and spit out children more than they can afford, everybody gets a government bailout from the taxpayer, and you don't learn. Right? And it's all to protect your pathetic, sad egos and your pride. Right? But until you learn this, until you learn to swallow your pride and accept reality, you're going to be in the exact same lower quintile of income, working poor life for the rest of your life. And you can hate me for it. You can hate people who argue against the minimum. You can stammer your little feet and call us whatever names you want. In the end, it's going to be your life you're ruining. Because you are making stupid decisions, you have no skills no one wants to pay for, and you're basically a greedy, lazy, selfish fuck. That's what it boils down to. Right? I worked minimum wage, I shoveled shit. That's what I literally did. It was manure, worked at a greenhouse. We had to make the right types of manure with the right types of peat moss, and it was a big facility in operation. But I was a shit shoveler. That's what I did. I got paid minimum wage. But you know what? I was 13, I didn't have no fucking kids. And I made sure I never had kids. And I went to college, and even though I majored in the wrong thing, it was a mistake. I accept that. I swallowed my pride. I went on for an obscure reason, ending up doing this now. But the larger point is I did not impair myself, literally cripple and handicap myself to the point that I needed to go and bitch and whine and demand that the minimum wage be doubled because my financial situation was impossible. So, I mean, it's too late for people now that have made horrible mistakes, brought on a ton of debt, student loan debt, of which is not forgivable, or kids, because you can't kill them. You can't, well, you can, but it's kind of illegal. You can give them up for adoption, but by now you've probably, grown attached to them. It's too late for you if you have a kid. Just too late. Your life is over, at least until those kids are out of high school. But going forward, let's learn something from this. For those of you whose parents are out there bitching and whining about there not being a minimum wage, all right, ask yourself this question. Do you want to be like your parents when you grow up? Do you want to be in the exact same situation? Or would you like to make progress? And there's two ways you can avoid that. One, don't major in stupid shit. Get yourself a skill or a trade. Don't just sit there picking your ass. All right? And then two, don't have kids you can't afford. And this problem goes away tomorrow. Because then you're like, well, I could get by on this minimum wage, or I got a skill and now I'm making $15 or $20 on. Maybe making $30 if I'm a programmer or an engineer. It's your choice. You can choose. It's just whether you want to put forth the effort to learn the hard skills in math and STEM and programming and all that other good stuff that leads to high-paying jobs. And if you can be smart enough to wrap it up, or ladies, take a fucking pill. Ladies, what's harder? Or 18 years of raising your fucking kid. I don't know. Guys, what's harder? Putting something on, getting a vasectomy, snip, snip, or 18 years of dealing with child support payments? Very simple solution. But I know reasons and feelings. I'm a sexist, racist, homophobic, ageist, disablest, whatever fucking name you're gonna call me. But anyway, that's the minimum wage. That's the debate for it. Anyway, you guys got questions? I got answers. Go to assholeconsulting.com. The old captain will take care of you. We provide solutions. We do not provide you excuses. You can also get me on the Praxi app. You can download the Praxi app. Contact me directly if you need emergency asshole consulting services. You can find that on the Google Play Store or the iPhone Store. And then you can go ahead and check out my books that are available at Amazon.com. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.